Ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to make some comments on the Pride event too. I've been watching some of the scuttlebutt going on. I'm starting to see people are getting pretty upset about it. And I want to begin with one question. How many of you know that the Pride event's been going on for 2 decades? I went to that parade in 2009. Google it. I worked for months to reach out to pastors in the area. I reached out to my friends. I reached out to everybody I could to find out if they were going to join me. And you know what happened? Nobody wanted to go with me. Why? Oh, because that's too political, Tom. Or they're probably scared. What I probably mentioned, I think on a website or in a past post or something was, I was actually going to a church. And I'll even tell you, I was going to Canyon Springs in Middleton. And I can't remember the name of the pastor. I think his name was Mike. And I had asked people to go with me to this event. And nobody would go. I went to pastors. I said, hey, pastor, is there any reason why I shouldn't be going to this event? Is there something unbiblical? Maybe I'm looking like somebody that I shouldn't be doing or whatever. I wanted to make sure my head was right. My mind was right. I was biblically correct in the reason why I went down there and the things of that nature. And after all of that scrutiny, they all said, Tom, I think what you're doing is a great idea as long as you believe that, what you're doing in your heart is the right thing. And so I turned around and asked one fundamental question. I said, if I'm doing the right thing, then why are you not joining me? And they said, it's political. So now what do we see? We have the Pride event in Boise that's been going on for almost 2 decades or more. And I think I attended in 2009. And my question is why is now everybody decided to be up in arms and trying to be able to get people to step out of the Pride parade? And I'm thinking to myself, is it for the sake of the children? I mean, seriously, have we not learned anything? Oh, so my fellow patriots that have family members that are gay. Oh, am I offending you now because your family members are gay? Or now you're going to take the position in support of Pride because your children are now gay? Somehow, like God's law changes when you are personally affected, when your family members decide to be able to take an unbiblical stance, an unconstitutional stance? Do we operate that way? Is that what the movement does? Now, maybe I'm misunderstanding something, and of course I have to tell you, you can correct me when I'm wrong. But why is it that nobody was involved? Did you not know that this is run by progressives? Do you not understand that their worldview of progressivism is to, in their words, progress? Progress doesn't necessarily mean to become better. It just means to continue to progress or continue to move in a particular direction. If you know anything about progressivism, you'll realize that it is what I akin to the plague of locusts. They can't survive in the areas that they create because they have made it devoid of all food, or void of all food, all water, all morality, all faith, traditional family, all of those things that made this country great. Not only that, they're Marxists. And some of them are in the name of the fact that they're Christians too. The other thing too that we seem to lose sight of, that I talk about all the time, are the conspiratorial elements that nobody likes to mention. We have Tammy Nichols, and God bless her, for talking about the fact that it's unlawful. I'm really wondering why we even needed to pull that up when you and I already know, if we have half a pulse, that it's not only unlawful, it's immoral. It's not only immoral, it's unconstitutional. But what's worse than that is it's part of the globalist agenda, damn it. Anybody that actually takes a position that says, oh, my son or my daughter is gay, it's like, you know what? First of all, I'm going to call BS, especially if you're going to be claiming to be Christian. But now they're becoming useful idiots in support of a globalist agenda to be able to destroy the traditional family in the name of sustainable development. You don't believe me? Read UN documents sustainable development. Read Klaus Schwab's The Fourth Revolution. Read Klaus Schwab's COVID and the Great Reset. Read all of the information that I've read that completely points out the fact that it's all about supporting the tenets of this agenda. It's what it's all about. And so when people say, "Oh, Tom, are you full of gay hate?" It's like, you know what? Let me ask you something. And I know this is going to take a kind of a controversial stance here, but is it illegal to hate? Is it a crime to hate? If it is, are we not all guilty of hate? I hate cashews. Does that make me a cashew hater? Actually, yeah, it does. But is it a crime? No. Do people hate black people and white people? We know they hate white people. Do they hate Christians like the gays? Do they hate the Christians? Do they hate Muslims? Do they hate flat tires? I mean, let's go completely loony here, right? We can stop at anything and say we all hate something, okay? So let's not allow the agenda to continue to permeate into society, to allow them to redefine everything. They're already redefining the law. They're redefining the English language. They're redefining environmentalism. They're redefining hate speech. They're redefining freedom of speech. They're redefining our Constitution. They're redefining our history. What else is left? Now they're going to redefine the traditional family, and somehow we're supposed to be okay with it. Is that what I'm supposed to understand? Now, I'm not sure if many of you understand this, but a long time ago, when this agenda began, it was all about them wanting equality. We just want to be acknowledged, we wanted to be accepted. No, it was a camel under the tent in the name of progressivism. So to be able to sit there and say, well, I'm okay with these guys expressing their freedom of expression, but they're not, but as long as they don't have the children, then what are we really doing? Because progressivism would tell you that they are, first of all, they're talking about the fact that they were born that way, and now they're not born that way, and now they're openly rubbing it in your face, telling you they're fluid. And somehow we as Christians continue to take it. We continue to take it. I go to Christian pride events when it was actually safe to do so. And who's to say that it isn't now? I don't know. But I know that you're going to get a lot more scrutiny now because we have, yet again, support of the corporations, which have supported just about any totalitarian edict, including masks, vaccines, and mandates. And yet we're still sort of thinking that conspiracy doesn't exist. We don't think that there's an effort to be able to enslave humanity and destroy the traditional family and support global government. So you got Idaho Power to stop. So you got whoever to stop. They did it for the children. If you would have applied enough pressure, and I'm not saying you didn't, I'm guessing here. If you applied enough pressure to them in the fact that you didn't like the Pride event altogether, and it wasn't just about the children, would they have stopped? It would have been interesting to find out, wouldn't it? But we stopped short, I think, once again. We're like, well, as long as they don't have the children. I mean, this was the same way with this garbage that we're getting in libraries. Oh, well, we're not going to stop. We don't really want to stop Marxism in our library, do we? No. But we just don't want our children to be propagandized with sexual deviancy. It's like, what, are we stupid? Why would we stop short that way? I'm reminded of a biblical scripture. I think it's something like God says, if you do everything half-assed, that's okay. That's good enough. I don't see that. It seems that I remember that being lukewarm, you were going to be spewed out of his mouth. But yet, in the name of tolerance and diversity, which we claim that we don't have, we stop short at every level. And we think somehow if we fight harder as patriots, we're going to end up getting America back. If we continue to act like this, America's never coming back. We lack the principles and understanding of Americanism. We think somehow it's okay that if our children decide to come homeschool from a Marxist brainwashed school that we're openly supporting, by the way, while we're fighting it, which is ironic, somehow, all of a sudden, we have to flip our lid and we have to say, oh, my principles have changed. Do you think God would have changed his principles? As a Christian, do you think that God has commanded you to change your principles? No. If God was the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow, why aren't you? People are like, boy, Tom, you sure are mad lately. You know what? Do I have a right to be mad? My country's going to hell. My children are going to be subjected to all this garbage. Your children are subjected to this garbage, and we're just supposed to let it go. So I'm going to assume anybody that is more focused on the way I'm saying it rather than what I'm saying, maybe you've been plagued by the tolerance bug. Maybe you're somebody that no longer has righteous indignance. Maybe you're the one that just doesn't want to incur any sort of heat from anybody else because you might offend people. Not realizing that it's okay for them to offend you. And people tell us that we're the hypocrites because we're not allowing them to do whatever they want in the streets. I could go in and I could talk about the Republican Party, like I think Ammon's doing a video too, talking about the Republican Party and who's actually supporting it. We know who's supporting it. The corporations are supporting it. Do you know why? Because if you understood the global conspiracy, you would understand that the government, since it doesn't have the authority to do what it's doing, is utilizing corporations to do it. Part of the plan is to make the corporations the new form of government. It's true. They are trying to make corporations to do the bidding, the totalitarian edicts, because they know that we have to submit in the free market economy to say, oh, well, I guess if I don't like what's going on in this private business, then I guess the only right I have is to quit. And in sort of an altruistic society, I believe that to be true. But when your government utilizes corporations to enslave America, there's got to be something else that has to happen. And you know what? Once again, it comes back to us. It comes back to, what do you want? If you really want the principles of freedom and you really want your country back, first of all, you better be firmly established in those principles. And if you're not, you're going to lose it, because you're going to take tolerant positions that are not only unbiblical and unconstitutional, but the founders may spew you out of their mouths. Those are some of the comments I have about Pride events. And those are some of the connections that are involved. I'm not sure if you guys know this, but I have friends that have been involved in this movement for 30 years. And they have shared with me footage of some of these parades. And I happen to have a DVD in my room of a Folsom Day parade. And the day I watched it is a day I will never forget. And I'm going to tell you why. Because there were things that you can no longer unsee. The people in Folsom allowed that to happen. They allowed a few people to dance around in their dresses and crap. And they didn't think anything was going to happen. And then all of a sudden a few more joined. And a few more joined. And a few more joined. And then the S&M group joined. And then all of these other groups are joining. Then they've got oral copulation in the street with children watching. Some people are not aware of things like the Communist Manifesto. Some people in the Liberty Movement are still unaware of something called the Homosexual Manifesto. So I got in an argument with somebody today, and if I understand this correctly, we're still in communicado, because I still think we still believe alike, and I just misunderstand them. But it's still worth bringing up. If somebody says, I'm okay with as long as they can do this in our taxpayer-funded streets, while forbidding Emmett Bundy, for example, to get a permit for a park thing, people are not realizing it's just going to get worse. People don't realize, through the progressive nature of the progressives, to corrupt the children and to normalize it and to make it acceptable, they have to include the children. The Homosexual Manifesto, the first paragraph, I believe, is, we will sodomize your children. Now, if that doesn't tell you that there are things that you need to consider about where the hell this thing is going, I would strongly encourage you to reconsider. Why don't you talk to people that have been involved in the movement? Peter LaBarbera, that I went to out in Chicago. We went to the Pride Parade in Chicago. Some of the things I saw there, you cannot unsee. And the things that happen in Boise, if you allow this to continue, are going to be things that you can't unsee. So what will you do as Christians? Oh, I know what you're going to do. You're going to do what Christians always do. When we got involved in the government, you said, well, I'm Christian. I can't be involved in that. Therefore, you leave. That happened in the government. What happened in the public school? Oh, we allowed Marxism to creep into the public school. You know what happened? People are like, oh, I'm Christian. I can't allow that to happen in the public school. Not even thinking that the children that you're trying to protect are going to be subjected to the ideology of the children in the public school system the entire time they're growing up, with emphasis added on what happens in the culture that they're going to be dealing with after graduation. I'm reminded of what Abraham Lincoln said. He said the philosophy of the schoolroom in one generation will be the philosophy in government in the next. And you think that they're not coming after the children. We don't know very much, do we? So I would strongly encourage you, if you really don't like it, to do more. You're going to make your call, and you can celebrate in the fact that Idaho Power ended up ended up backing away. They're a monopolistic organization that have us between a rock and a hard place, and they have the audacity to tell us that we're going to support them with the profits of what we make from you. And Zion's Bank and ICCU and Starbucks and all of these corporations. And they all got to pass. Why? Some of them because they're not supporting the children. I'm saying this again. If you love your country, you need to understand more. You need to understand more. You need to be involved more. You need to see the bigger picture of the things that are going on and not take tolerant, inconsistent, lukewarm positions that are only going to help make America worse. If you're not interested in taking the time to be able to work on America and restoring America back to what it should be, why are you active anyway? If you are going to take the position, at least even part way, of the enemy, why don't you just join the enemy? Why don't you just join the Pride Festival? Why don't you just give up everything? Give up your faith, give up the Constitution, give up the principles of liberty, give up the principles of natural law, and you might as well give up the law of physics, and join the enemy. Because if we don't figure this out, the enemy will win. And the ultimate goal, of course, is the enemy is to persecute you. So if you are not all in for liberty, you are all in for persecution. And if you are as deathly afraid of that persecution as I think you should be, although God says he did not give us the spirit of fear, I know that we all fear though, is to really consider what the hell we're doing and figure it out, people. Because as long as we're divided, I love talking about what Thomas Jefferson said. I think it was Jefferson. He said, if we don't hang together, we're surely going to hang separate. So God bless you guys. Thank you for being tolerant enough to listen to my message. I hope it resonates with some of you. And talk to you later. Thanks.